What is up, Connect 7 family? Welcome to season 3, episode 7, which is actually a thank you to you all. So, the name of this episode is Thank You, Connect 7 family. And I don't believe I've ever made a thank you episode to all of you. I know I say it in the endings or like in the beginnings a bit, but I just wanted to make an episode about it. So, as y'all know, y'all the family, so I have to update y'all. Now, the first thing that I will definitely say is we have a new sponsor. So, we have a new sponsor for the podcast. Her name is Roz Fisher, and it's just a little bit of like who she is and how I know her and how this even all happened. So as you all know, I moved with my partner from Florida, USA, to New Zealand. And as we got our asses out of the States, we were like, okay, we need to, get to some jobs. And I was just like, okay, show a little resume, keep it moving. No, apparently resumes are done different over the seas. Who would have thought, right? So Priscilla was like, yeah, there's a person that does this. So we should go through them and have all of that like set up, because us trying to do it ourselves while moving into a whole new country, and we're trying to figure out a whole bunch of other things. One, where to get toilet paper to wipe our asses. Two, what we're gonna we had a place to rest our head. Grocery shopping, because your boy got to eat. So it was just a lot of things we had to do, right? Like long term, where are you gonna rest your head? Long term, having like a bathroom that's steady. You know what I mean? So the essentials. So in that, it was just like jobs. So we agreed to take some time off from working and to just, relax and things like that. And so fast forward, going through the process of looking for jobs and things like that, we had to get a CV, the whole process, cover letters, things like that. I never had a cover letter back in the States. So we had to go through all of that. So this is how Roz comes into the picture. So Roz comes in, we connect with her, and who Roz is that she's literally an international CV and resume specialist, right? And one thing that's really amazing about her is that she has like this talent, this gift to get to know the core you, right? And like translate it on paper. And when she was doing me and Priscilla's resume, like, I'm not gonna lie to y'all, I was intimidated by my own self, because the way she made me, like how she portrayed me, like this is all the things that's true, but I was just like, oh, I don't know if I can live up to that, because girl, you making me sound real important. You making me sound real big. Like, okay, like these some big words. I know how to read them, I understand them, but this is, like you sold me right. So, and the same thing. Like Priscilla was like, "Oh, you making me sound big," and it's the truth. Like we got them skills, and so. In the process, like I was telling her about the podcast, and that was the detail I actually left out of my resume. And I was like, by the way, I'm looking to do something different here. And I forgot I should say podcasting. We started talking. She was just like, "Are you looking for a sponsor?" And I was just like, it's been portrayed to me. It's people have suggested it, and I've seen certain things, and I was like, I don't know. And so I'm like, my podcast is like all about connection. So I kind of need to know you, you know what I mean? And this wasn't at her, but I'm like, this is how I felt with the other people, because she's been working, with us for some time. And I was like, well, I'm open to it. Like if you want to, I'm more open to it because I have a connection with you and I know you, versus someone I don't know. I'm like, baby, I don't know where you're coming from. I don't know what side of the streets you're on, east side, west side, where are you from? Who your mama, who your daddy? You know what I mean? So with her, it was perfect. So, long story short, saving y'all a lot of details, she was like, all right, first sponsor. And so we just got some things down, and It's awesome. So another thing that I want to talk about relating to Roz is that she has a book and it's called My First CV, right? And I just want to share, I just want to literally put some spotlight on this, her book. So the My First CV, it's literally her first book and it helps like students who are just like new to the working world. And when I read a bit of her book, actually I read the whole thing. So when I read it, and it's a quick read too, it was, to me, it was gold, right? When I don't know if you guys can relate. I'm sure all y'all can relate. Think about it. Let's go back to when you first started, getting in the work world. This was before that 9 to 5 was beating that ass. This was before your boss, you wanted to kill a boss. This was before you knew you was going to have a coworker who you had to pray to not lay your hands on them because you had a bill to pay. So this is before all of that. So if you can go back, come with me. Imagine you got to get into the, work world and they're like, well, we need a resume from you. And you're like, bitch, what do you not understand? This is my first job. The fuck you mean you need a resume from me, baby? Like, I have not done anything. Like, you would be the first thing to go on the resume. I don't have anything, right? And that's kind of how I came into the world. I'm like, baby, what can I say? There ain't nothing I've done. Wrong. So in her book, it literally highlights there's so much experience that you do have. There's things that you have interest in. There's so many gold nuggets that you have. Like, if you're on a computer, you have computer skills. If you've done like essays, you know what I mean, for school, you have experience in Microsoft, right? If you've done either like creative stuff with your posts, that's all experience, and jobs are looking for that. And so the book breaks down all these skills that you have and how you can put that together in your first CV. And it's literally like a blueprint. When I first read it, again, I was just like, bro, if I had this back then, I would have been way more confident. And this would have helped me out tremendously. But I mean, I've had people that helped me, but I never had a blueprint and I never thought I could do it by myself. But with this, I definitely could have benefited. And it was a real, like I said, quick read. So I'm going to put the link to her book and also the link to her Facebook page and her YouTube, so you guys can like connect with her and just get to know her as well. I'll also say, if you're someone, because y'all know I've been saying, get the hell out of America if you can. If you're thinking of moving somewhere abroad and you're like me, you didn't know where to start as far as like the CV and things like that. Because when I had mine, I was like, yeah, that should be fine. Absolutely not. When I showed her my whole resume, she was like, yeah, no, you ain't gonna work over here. So if you're in the process of moving somewhere completely different and you want help on just getting your CV, your resume, your cover letter, all of that to be just top tier, reach out to her. So moving on, I would like to say fun facts are back, right? I have to give a shout out. I have to give a shout out to one of our listeners. She's family now. I didn't tell her that I was going to mention her, so I'm just going to say, her name is Kay, and she's going to know exactly who she is because I'm going to say a few things that we talked about. So probably after this episode, I'm going to be like, hey, by the way, I mentioned you and so and so. So I have to give a huge shout out to Kay because she has been listening to the podcast for some time now. And I just find it really good to just connect with, those of you who like listen to the podcast. There are some of you who I know personally, and there are some of you who I haven't. And in speaking with her, she mentioned, she was like, I miss some of the episodes. She's like, I like how you do the fun facts. And I was just like, I haven't done that in so long. Like, because again, y'all know, we've been trying to get this, my shit together over here. Life was beating my ass. Life was fucking me. And I didn't like to be fucked, but life obviously bought me on the street and I had to give it up apparently. I don't know. It was like life caught me on 29th year block. So when I turned 29, and life was like, yeah, I paid for this ass and I'm gonna get this ass. And it got that ass and then some. So I didn't want it to be that way. I wasn't expecting that. I thought I was doing good. Apparently I was life's favorite little whore. So yeah, it took some time. Podcast kind of suffered a little bit from that. But, we're here to, talk about these things that I learned from what life was doing to me and things like that. Like, I don't know. What do I say? Like, I went from a hoe to a house husband, a house person. I don't really know, but life was. Anyways, life was life, and so yeah, I didn't really do the fun facts and a couple of other things, and so when we were talking, it was just like, yes, I need to bring that back. That was fun. There were a couple of listeners who threatened me, and y'all know. When y'all threatened me, it's fun, and it wasn't like serious threats, like we're going to kill you or anything like that. That's different. That's family. But there were some listeners who were like, you better not start with the fun facts. I'm going to beat that ass. And I was just like, bruh, little did I know life was going to be my ass later on down the line. But, now that I look at it, it could have been because I stopped the fun facts and that's what life beat my ass. But look at that. We're coming together in life. Anyways, in talking with her, it was just like, yes, I need to bring it back. And we're doing that in season 3 now, moving on. And I have a fresh list of fun facts. So I was like, let me make sure I didn't say this in the last seasons. I'm pretty good, at least on my memory of like, if this feels right or doesn't. So let us get into the fun fact for this episode, the first one of the season. The fun fact is the scientific term for brain freeze is, and I promise y'all I'm not saying no spell words, and don't laugh at me because I'm trying to pronounce this. This is big words here. Okay. Let me get my little notes here. The scientific term for brain freeze is sphenopalatine ganglioneuralgia. I'm going to try that again. Sphenopalatine ganglioneuralgia. That is a scientific term for brain freeze. And I know some of y'all are like, what did he say? Google it. It will pop up. I promise you. It's a fact. So look it up. But yeah, I don't think that I can say that in a regular way. Like I'm you thirsty, right? You've been out on the streets or some of y'all, you exercise. Y'all have wholesome lives. You did whatever you did, to work a thirst. And you're drinking it so fast, right? You're drinking it so fast. And it's just like, dang, like, man, I drank that so fast that I like, what's going on? Like, man, I got sphenopalatine ganglioneuralgia, bro. Like, bitch, what do you have a disease? What? Like, I couldn't say it. But anyways, that's the fun fact. So, going into the episode, I told y'all this in the last episode because now that I'm unhinged, all types of shit is going to come out of my mouth. So, yeah. So, getting into the episode, I wanted, like I said, this is a thank you, to all of you who listen to this episode and how this came about. Again, I'm going to give a shout out to Kay because we just had like a really great, just wholesome talk. She asked me a whole bunch of questions and I love that. Matter of fact, this wasn't in my notes to talk about. So I'm actually going to pull this up really fast and like let you guys like hear some of the questions that she asked me. Like I'm actually going to share some of this with you. This wasn't part of the plan, but I'm going to share some of this with you because one of the things we talked about, she was like, I like interviewing, or, she wanted to do things with interviewing. And I was just like, bro, you should definitely do it because it's like, these are some good questions. So For those of you who are new, one of the questions that she asked me was, what made you want to pursue being a podcaster? Right. And I was just like, that's an easy question for me, in the sense of I remember how the podcast came to be. I felt as though, and this was like 2018. So I felt as though a lot of people in the world just were not taught how to connect with people, right? Like, you pop out the pussy, you're in a school with a couple of other people who popped out the pussy around the same time you did. And you told to like play with them and be nice to them, and don't beat them or don't throw something at them because they took your Play-Doh, or don't slap them because they broke your crayon, right? Like, you had to learn how to work with these two-legged beings, right? And so, you got to go back home to them older two-legged beings, the ones you came from. And even them, they sometimes don't know how they shit together. But, like, things happen. Traumas happen. Some things aren't taught. Some things are taught. And so you grow up even more to be an adult two-legged. And by the way, two-legged is humans, people. And you're not really taught, like, hey, this is how you communicate your emotions without shutting down or kicking a dog, right? This is how you tell a person to shut the fuck up, but nicely, right? And this is how you become vulnerable without making a scene and, listening to depressing music all day and putting part of the lyrics on a Facebook post. Like, no, we're going to talk about this. We're going to like unpack this, right? And so the list goes on of things that we do as people. And it was just like, people aren't taught how to connect. Some people have social anxiety. Some people just, again, don't know how to read like things in between the lines, right? And so I was just like, I see it all the time. And I was like, I wasn't taught it in school. And I know if I wasn't taught it, some of y'all wasn't taught it. So we're going to talk about this. And that was literally how the podcast was like born, was like, okay, let's create something where people learn how to connect with other people. The podcast is all about connection. And so that was that. She asked me about like pros and cons of podcasting, which I answered. And for some of you who listen, actually, that's actually a good question. I'll share my answers with that too. For some of you who listen to the podcast and maybe listen to others, I'm sure it came across your mind of like, I should probably do my own. And I definitely recommend like, do it. You have a voice, you have something, right? And I was telling her, I was like, the pros, I was like, there's way more pros than cons. But I was like, for me, the pros is, number one, like, it's your own thing. You can do what you want. You can do it how you want it. You can set your own schedules. You can add all types of things, this, that, and the other. I was like, so there's a lot of freedom with what you do. And I said, the cons are, there's a lot of freedom with what you do, because if you don't know what you're doing, it's like you're trying to figure things out while also trying to figure out a schedule that works for you, trying to figure out the right equipment, figuring out what your style is, when is good for you to record. It's just so many different things. And I was like, it's not really a con, but it's just, yes, you have a lot of freedom, but you now have to tell yourself what to do a lot. And if you're not used to that, that can be a bit of a, character building moment. And also you have to figure out, you have to create your own structure. It's not really given to you right now. If you have somebody who has been podcasting much longer than you and they can give you a bit of a structure that you can kind of add and subtract to, then that works. But some of you who have not, it can, it can be a process. And again, it's just a lot of things you have to figure out. And so that was like a few questions. She asked another really good one. I'm looking through the list and man. It was questions about like moving to New Zealand. Y'all already know that I put that in the financial trauma episode. And she asked me a question about here we go. What's the most challenges you face being so spiritual? And so I was like, between you and I, but now between all of y'all, because, we family now. I was just like, one of the things I struggled with was like, I would know a lot of stuff or have access to a lot of things, right? And so it caused me to have a huge capacity. And so one of the challenges would be like I would feel as though I'm an alien, right? And I'm trying to talk to people and they're not either on that wavelength or they're like, I don't know what you're talking about. Or I would have the capacity to listen to people because I'm so used to in this whole spiritual world, there's a lot of spirits and beings that, I would talk with. And so it's like, okay, you're giving me a lot of information, so I'm used to it. But when I would have to speak with other people, they didn't have the capacity, like nowhere near mine, only for a select few. And so that was like a struggle for a very long time, which I actually talked about that some episodes ago when I brung Lakeisha Hay on there, the therapist, and we talked about capacity. And so I was saying there's challenges like that. And I was like, for a moment, when it got to spiritual stuff, I was just like, it was so annoying because like it felt like people were kind of hopping on like this spiritual train of like, okay, I do this and there's crystals and, like you got to heal the inner child. You have to like talk with like your guides and your ancestors. And it's just like, bruh, it's like, I don't even feel that you're doing that. It feels like you read this and this is something you're trying to do. And there's no shame in that. It's just like, we all have to start somewhere, but it's like, it felt like a lot of people was hopping on a trend and it was just like, I'm not feeling that oomph. I'm not feeling that spirit beat your ass. I'm not feeling that you went through that trauma. I'm not feeling that you had to heal some traumas there. You know what I mean? I'm not feeling it. I'm not feeling that oomph. I'm not feeling like you had that ass dragged through the mud and you're back, like I'm not feeling it. I'm not feeling the confidence and the humbleness. It's not giving. And so I was just like, yeah, nah, we ain't gonna get into that. And so it just brings things back to like, okay, a lot of people was like, man, like your stuff is so spiritual. And I was like, I feel like I kind of got away from it just because of all of that. And it was just like, let's bring some things back together, which goes into the point that I wrote down, which is a huge thank you to Kay and also my other listeners, because I've had conversations with you all where you've shared something with me and it was just like, man, I did start that and I didn't finish it. And it was just like, it caused me to like say, let's get back to like my roots. Let's get back to the roots of the podcast. One of those being the fun facts, one of those being adding those spiritual things, right? And the spiritual doesn't have to be like no crazy stuff. But when I was speaking with Kay, she was just like, I've listened to other people and it doesn't really feel like organic. But with you, when I listen to your stuff, it just feels organic. It's that energy, it's that vibe. And you, again, for those of you, if you're spiritual and if you're not, that's fine. But I'm sure you've heard terms where people are like, hey, you have to do shadow work or you have to heal the inner child. People say it, but no one really tells you how to do it. And it doesn't necessarily mean like this is the only way to do it. But like, if you're going to tell people to heal the inner child, give them something or give them some type of structure that they could, again, add or subtract on, right? And she mentioned that she was just like, when you go into your stuff, you go into it, you give details, you talk about it. And I was just like, man, that feels really good that someone's able to like feel it and acknowledge that and see that. Because y'all already know, if we're going to focus on a topic, we finna go deep in there. If I got to expose myself for y'all to get it and for y'all to learn and for you to feel safe and like you have the confidence to do it, I'm going to do it. That's no problem. And so it was just like, man, like just the conversations with her and other people lately, it was just like, yeah, let's get back, to the roots of things. And it's a funny thing. It's a little bit of a side note, but I was just coming back from a fair with some friends here, and it was just funny experiences. I'm like, man, I got to put this on the podcast because this is crazy. And so there are things that I don't want to do sometimes when I'm with them, like, oh, let's do this. I'm like, I don't really know. And now they're like, do it for the pod, bro. And I'm just like, okay, I got to do it for the pod now. And it's just been funny. I say that because it's just like when you're out in those experiences and you're having fun, it's just like you get certain things to bring you back into like your roots of like, yeah, okay, you know, I used to do this. I used to have these crazy experiences and share them, right? And that's just going back with, again, just sharing experiences. And going back to Kay, when we spoke, she was sharing her experience, and it was very like, it was like a lot of confirmation in the things that I do. Right. So the last episode, I was just like being more authentic, bringing out more of my outlandish self, and just just being real. And I did that. And so me and her spoke earlier today and a little bit yesterday. And she said, you know, I love your podcast. She's like, I also feel like you have your goofy side. And she's like, it comes out here and there. And then you get back to being professional. So she was like, I would love to hear more of that goofy side. And I was just like, bro, I literally just did an episode, yes, like last week about I need to bring this side out more. So the fact that you said that is just confirmation of like, yes, I need to be with the shits even more. You know, organized shits, but the shits nonetheless. And so that was just funny to me. And I was just like, yes, we're doing it. We're sticking with it. We're going to have more crazy stories because there's things I have not told y'all that I have experienced. And I was just like, oof, this is ghetto. This is, my ancestors are looking at me probably in judgment, like rolling over in their graves, man. Whew, I'm putting y'all to work. But yeah, so I was just like, bro, we have some stories we're going to share. And y'all going to hear every bit of it. And you're going to love it. And you're probably going to look at me through here like, that we might need to sit down. You might need to talk to someone about that. And I promise you I have, you know. And I told them. And they laughed. And you're going to laugh. And we're all going to laugh and we're going to be good. Moving on is another point that I wrote down is, gosh, it was just like, it comes back to what I said at the topic of the episode is just like a thank you to you all. Because there are a lot of you who are everywhere in the world, right? And most of my listeners are not just in the States. Yes, that's where I started. And then there are some listeners who, you know, are now here in New Zealand. There are some in Europe, Africa, India, here and there. And it's just like, I definitely would like to like connect more with you. And so I was telling Kay, I was like, yeah, like if you ever have any questions and things like that, just hit me up. And one thing that she asked me, I'm actually going to read the question to you because you all have probably thought of this as well. But she said, you know, there's two questions. Will you eventually bring more guests on the podcast or friends? And I was just like, yes, I definitely will. And then also she was saying, would you let your listeners call in and ask questions or give them advice? And I'm just like, absolutely. And that is something that I'm in the works of trying to do. So the home for my podcast is on Podbean. Some of you listen to it on there. It has a feature where, for the most part, I believe it, like I can do like record live sessions and listeners can like chime in. So I think you may have to download the Podbean app for that. I'm not too sure. I have to play with it. It's on my list that I just wrote down before this episode of like, let's look into it and see. The only thing with that is the fact that most of like my listeners that I've seen, yes, they're in the States and then I'm here in New Zealand. So it's like, I think, don't get me wrong, this is new for me. Y'all are literally hearing me think as I'm thinking about this, but I think I'm like all the way, I think I'm always like at the edge. New Zealand is the first place to get the sun. So we're the first place where the sun rises. So I think the part that I have to get together is like what would be a good time, one, for me to record this, and two, a good time where majority of the listeners are available to to chime in. So I know for cause from Florida, I'm 16 hours ahead of time. And when you all are starting your day of work, I'm going to bed. And when you're about to get off, I'm probably waking up sometime. So it's just like, I'm thinking it may be like a 7 p.m. thing, EST time. But I have to play with it. I say all of that thinking to say, for me to do it, I have to see like what's a good time frame to go with that, where I think most people are available. I'm thinking 7 p.m. EST would probably be good because a little bit of everybody may be up. I at least know for the States, the earliest that I would say the earliest that would be as far as the time zone would probably like a 3 hour, max 4 hour difference. So there's that. And then further down. So it's just like I have to play with it. I'd really have to play with it and see. But I say all of that to say that I would definitely love to have a segment where I'm able to add more of you all to the podcast and be able to answer your questions live, for you to chime in and things like that. I think it'd be really cool. So I'm thinking of doing that. And that's just something that I have in the works, because it is a podcast that's all about just connection. I know I share my life stories and things like that, but just adding that aspect to where you guys can like come in and just add your own energy in here, I think it'll be funny as hell. Because I know my mouth, and some of y'all out here, I know y'all have mouths. And so for y'all to come on a podcast where y'all could be your authentic self, I know it's going to be crazy, because most of the people that I've had come on the podcast were like, oh, I can cuss, right? And I'm like, baby, it's too late. You can. I prefer you to. That's my favorite language. And some of the conversations that I have with people who have listened to the podcast, they are outlandish too. And if y'all think I'm bad, I have spoken with some friends where I'm just like, bro, you make me look like innocent. And that is saying something, because I know the words that come out of my mouth. But I have friends who have, I call it like a God tongue, because in the 31 years that I've walked on this planet, there are a combination of words I have not heard. And the first one that comes to mind, and I'm going to say it to y'all, because some of y'all probably heard me say this on the episode, but I have a friend who, like, at least with me, if I see something, I can keep it in, right? I can have a thought and I can probably laugh, and I can laugh and lie about it and say I wasn't thinking it, and, we keep it moving. But I have a friend whose facial expressions are worse than mine, right? I can't hide mine. I tried it, but they don't work. They have a mind of their own. But my one friend, I'm going to just give y'all the scenario. So walk with me here. Take a moment. Sit down. You're in Walmart, or pick a grocery store. Fill in the blank. You're in the store. And, it's Walmart, so you're not really dressed up. You go in looking, raggedy on purpose, because one, you don't want to talk to nobody. You ain't trying to see nobody. You're trying to get your shit and go. It's because it's Walmart. It's not Target. It's not Whole Foods, because those you got to change your outfits for, right? So we're in Walmart, and of course, there are other people who are on the same assignment. We're not going to look our best. I feel like there should be a difference when your kids are involved, but so y'all can already imagine. Brace yourselves. We're in Walmart, and she sees a child. I seen them too. And I kept it moving. And I'll be honest with you, I in my mind, I said, ooh, let me shut up. I said this in my mind, and I kept it moving. And her facial expressions clearly showed, I can't say disgust. I can't say perplexed, But I can say if perplexed and disgust was like, if they got together and had a child, that's what her facial expression was. And I said, because I can't say her name right now, I was like, what? And she was like, I'm like, because I already noticed this for the go. I'm like, what happened? She was like, I just don't understand how grown ass people be out here and having their kids' hair look rougher than wolf pussy. I just don't understand. And I was in so much shock because this is the thing about me. You can say some outlandish shit, but my mind is going to visualize it. So this is why you can't say certain things around me when I'm doing certain activities, because my mind has to see it. So the fact that she said this child's hair looks rougher than wolf pussy, I'm just like, my mind instantly goes to, you know where my mind went. And I'm like, but they're wild. So my mind is like, but they're wild. And oh my God. And then I hate her. I say this with love, but I hate her because she be accurate. And I don't like that. And it's just like, bro, I don't like that. I agree with you, but I don't like it. I don't like that I agree with you. And I don't like that you said this. And yes, it may be true, but I don't like this. This isn't nice. But I'm going to laugh because you're right, but I don't like it. And I'm like, how the fuck did you put those two words together to say that this child's hair looked rougher than wolf pussy? And I know some of y'all gonna go out here and say this to some people. Don't say this to nobody, child. Okay? Wait till they walk away. But still, like, I was just like, bro, I can't with you, bro. So I lost my train of thought with that. I think I was saying all of this of just like, yeah, there we go. Yeah, some of my listeners here, y'all words are worse to me. So I can only imagine once this comes together, the type of conversations like my thing may go from explicit to X-rated content at this point. But yes. So again, I just want to say thank you, Connect 7 family. I really appreciate you guys just taking the time to just like listen to the episodes, pressing play, sharing them. I love that about like the stories you guys have shared with me. There's been countless times where a few of you have reached out and was like, hey, we're going to get serious for a moment, but like how some of you were like, hey, like there's a friend who lost a parent, who lost, a relative. And I decided, I was like, hey, I'm going to share a few of your episodes with them because I know you spoke about death and just how to work through that. So I'm just letting you know I'm going to share this episode with them. And there's times where I even had it recently. There was a death close to my family. And, one of my relatives was just like, talking with the youngest one who was involved with the incident. She was just like, hey, when he gets a bit older, when time passes, I'm going to share these episodes with him. Just to help him through it. So I love that. Like, I love how, with the K7 family, like we're just all about like that community. There have been times where some of you have literally told me that you have a friend who's going through things like emotionally, and you sent them a few episodes that helped them with that. And some of you who were like, I have a friend, they're like in the spiritual stuff and they're trying to like tap in and learn, and boom, you guys have told me like I sent these episodes to them. And it's been really cool because it's like, I'll see how some of you would like take screenshots and you'll send them in my inbox. It's like, hey, I heard this episode. Like, bro, I really needed to hear this. And I won't forget, there were a few times, I can say this because I'm not going to say their names, but there was a few times where some of you all were in very dark places, like really dark places. So you can imagine where I'm going to go with this. But, some of y'all were in dark places, and the fact that some of you reached out to me and were like, hey, like, I was about to do some things, but I heard this episode. So-and-so told me to check out this episode. And honestly, like, I feel really good. And I appreciate, you for just putting yourself out there. Like, that really, really helps. So I just want to just say thank you guys, because y'all be sharing episodes with people who I could never connect with. Like, you know what I mean? Like because they don't know me, they haven't seen me, they haven't even listened to podcasts before. And just the fact that some of y'all have never listened to podcasts and y'all like, hey, I decided to like download this and listen to the podcast. So I really, really appreciate that. You guys are amazing. I just love the energy that you guys share with me. And I just have to say, like, the K7 family, like, all of y'all are very unique. And I say that in the most, like, amazing way. Like, y'all are mad cool, mad chill, and just the vibes that y'all have. I love it. I really do. So, again, this was just an episode, just to thank all of you, those of you who I have spoken with, some of you who I have not spoken with before. And I'm going to work on just making it where you have you have more access to just connect and even just connecting with the episodes. And so for some of you who do want to reach out to me, I'm a person that's I'm very easy to reach out to. So if you like ever have questions, so this is to the whole K7 family. If y'all ever have questions, recommendations, like episodes y'all want me to like create on, or topics, or if y'all want me to even elaborate on a few things, you can reach me on IG, Facebook on there. If you go on the website, you know, the contact page, you can definitely reach out to me on there. I'd say, even just like if y'all are like, everybody's on social media. So if you are and you're connected to my social medias, just sending me messages through there. I see them all. You can do that. Or, you know, if you're not on social media and you're listening to this somewhere else, again, you have my website that I have in the episode descriptions, and you can click on there and click on the contact, send me an email, and just, you know, hit me up if you have, like, again, you have questions, whatever. I'm easy for you guys to access. So with that being said, guys, I really, really, really appreciate all of you. Thank you so much for press and play. Thank you for taking the time, and you all enjoy the rest of your spring. For those of you who are on my side of the world, and for those of you who are on another side, enjoy your fall or autumn. You know, spooky season is over, so you know it's gobble gobble season. It's the season where some of y'all finna deep throw that turkey. You know, y'all finna do some things to good old Wilbert on the plate. Y'all finna get stuffed by the stuffing. Yeah, and then you're gonna buy some toys, the adult versions and the kid versions for Christmas, and y'all got that. Y'all got that. So with that being said, guys, enjoy. Be good noodles. Don't do anything I wouldn't do. Stay safe. And I look forward to speaking with all of y'all soon. Later.